Now, this is one of my favorite stories. Dinesh D'Souza is a small-time political player. He wrote a book against Obama, did a documentary against him in the 2012 elections, and he gets paid a good amount of money to be a hatchet man for the right. I remember this report that was revealed that showed one of the right-wing billionaires saying, hey, we need someone with dark skin to attack Obama so we can have cover. And lo and behold, Dinesh D'Souza, everybody! Okay. Now, look, to be fair to Dinesh D'Souza, before that report was ever written, he was attacking Democrats his whole life. That's his shtick. And maybe he even believes it. We certainly know that he doesn't believe the family values part. I'll get to that in a minute. But first, let's remember why he's in the news. Well, we found out recently that he had violated campaign finance regulations. Now, there's almost no campaign finance regulations, so it takes some doing to violate that law. I mean, there's so much money you could funnel in legal ways, but this knucklehead who works at right-wing think tanks wound up violating the law. Anyway, direct contributions to candidates have to be limited to $10,000, depending on what you give them in primaries, general election, and how many people are contributing in your family, right? But in this case, it was $10,000 to Wendy Long, and he had given that with his wife. Now, we found out later, as part of the investigation, that it turns out his wife didn't want to give that money to Wendy Long, who was running as a Republican against Kirsten Gillibrand in the Senate race in New York. But here comes the fun part. He had also gotten his mistress to give $10,000 to Wendy Long, and of course that's illegal because he paid them back. He was funneling money. It was, in fact, Dinesh D'Souza who was giving the money, and that's why he got busted. Now, of course, since he got busted, he now says, oh, they were targeting me because of political reasons. His attorney says he was targeted because of his consistently caustic and highly publicized criticism of the Obama administration, that they, quote, selectively targeted for felony prosecution because of his outspoken, vigorous, and politically controversial criticism and condemnation of the president. Well, the federal prosecutors disagree. They say that that is entirely without merit. And they go on to explain that, hey, listen, we weren't actually doing an investigation of Dinesh D'Souza. We were doing a normal, standard investigation of the campaign finances in that race, and we were actually looking at both the Democrat, Gillibrand, and the Republican, Wendy Long, when we noticed this issue. And when we noticed the issue, then we went into it and found out things more about specifically Dinesh D'Souza. And in fact, one of the things they found out, of course, was that he was funneling the money through his wife and then his mistress at the same time. Well, now they have even more evidence that Dinesh D'Souza knew about that and knew that he was violating the law and planned to actually have a strategy about it. How do we know that? Well, see, his mistress, Denise Joseph, is also married. She has a husband that decided, hey, you know what? Why don't I record some of the things that she said, and let's see what interesting things that we find. And they found something interesting. Joseph was recorded as saying that Mr. D'Souza had told her that if he were charged, he might plead guilty, but would initially plead not guilty because that gives him a window of opportunity to get his story out there. So in other words, he knew he was guilty all along, and the rest is all a marketing campaign. Oops. Watch out what you tell your mistress when you're running on a family values platform. Now, he doesn't run as a politician, but he's been out there in the press as a right-wing ideologue for a long time. And prosecutors explained, and the New York Times recounts, the defendant knew that what he was doing in August 2012 was wrong, and it was not a fleeting, accidental misjudgment. It was part of a larger pattern of flouting campaign finance limits he knew existed. Okay, so that's your campaign finance part. He appears to be in great legal trouble. He's got a couple of counts against him, both for giving the illegal contributions and then making false statements about it. This recording does not help his case. Like I said before, you should be careful what your mistress says. But then that's the last part of this. Is it his mistress? Because we've had several different reports saying that he's going to be with her going forward, and then some others saying, no, he's back with his wife, Dixie D'Souza. And so I love the last line of this Talking Points memo article. In an interview with Business Insider in March, D'Souza declined to answer a question about whether he was currently married to either woman. Family values. Conservatives, man, they're unbelievable. Just when you think they can't get any more hypocritical, then you get Dinesh D'Souza.